Hi, welcome back to the Deeper Yes. I'm so glad that we get to spend some time together again this week. I'm excited that you continue to return and enjoy this with me and spend a little bit of time every Monday morning or Monday afternoon with me. I thank you so much for that, and I hope that as this continues to grow and we dig deeper into the deeper yes, that you'll be touched by it, and not only that you'll continue to subscribe, but that you'll share it with people that you love and you care about, that you think maybe they could be impacted in a positive way as well. So thank you so much. My hope this week was that I was going to be able to interview one of my friends to dig a little bit deeper into this idea of peace over noise and quieting the noise, but we just couldn't make that work. So I thought maybe what I'd like to do is really give you some actual, like, hands-on tangible tools to help quiet the noise and restore peace into your life and living. And so that's what we're going to do a little bit. It might look like I'm reading a little bit because I really just don't want to miss any of the goodness that I've thought about that might be helpful to you, that's been helpful to me on my journey. So we'll dig in a little bit. And I thought maybe what I just wanted to address and speak to, as right before we get into this tangible tool idea of how to quiet the noise and bring peace back into our lives, is that to really just acknowledge, right, that so many of us are overstimulated in ways that we don't even realize sometimes that we're overstimulated as we're just living day to day. And so constantly what's happening to so many of us is that we're consuming other people's opinions and expectations and pressure, and we fall into that trap and that snare of comparison, which, if you know anything about comparison, it just steals you of your joy and it just breeds discontentment. So we're gonna try to combat that. Sometimes some of us are consumed or overconsumed by just watching news and taking in bad news and falling down into that spiral. It's noise, right? It's all noise. Even good noise is sometimes too much noise. And so eventually what happens is our bodies and our souls, they just start to not feel safe anymore. And so that's why I really felt like, okay, we didn't get to interview someone this week, but let's talk about tangible ways that we can combat this and overcome it and restore peace into our lives. So here we go. Let's dig in together. So I kind of broke it out into 3 sections. There's physical, and there will be emotional and some spiritual. So let's just get into like the physical, what I might call holistic tools to address, like, how do we bring peace back into our lives? How do we help regulate our nervous system? And I think I've said this before, and I just want to say it again, like, as a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical doctor, but I've been on this journey, I would say over 15 years. I probably, honestly, I'm going to say it's over 20 years. So I've read a lot and I've dug a lot and I've experienced a lot, and I've experimented with what works and doesn't work. And so I'm just kind of wanting you to know, I'm really sharing it from a personal perspective of what's worked for me and what's helped bring restoration to my life and peace to my life and healing to my life, and not just physically but also emotionally and spiritually. And so my hope and my prayer is this will impact you, and it will impact someone out there that needs this, is sitting at home lonely, lost, praying for a solution. This is what I'm hoping, that maybe this will just be part of that journey for you. So I just wanted to kind of share that as a disclaimer. I am not coming to you as a doctor in this. And for me, not a functional practitioner, medicine practitioner, integrative medicine practitioner, but I've worked with many, and I have many that are friends, and so I've learned a lot, and that's what I want to just be able to impart back to you. So, okay, let's get into the tangible, physical tools. One thing that I have found personally, and I've actually done a lot of reading on, is just first thing in the morning, getting out outside in the sunlight. So even if you're not able to get moving and walking, just being outside. Like here we are in a townhome, we have a balcony. So I can just stand out on my balcony for a few minutes and just let sunlight hit me. And that is so good for our physical bodies. And it could be for 30 minutes. So that I stand out for 5 minutes or so, but then I do go walking. I'm going to be honest, for about an hour, first thing in the morning, and I happen to do it with my dog. So I'm kind of doing a couple of things, accomplishing a couple of ththings there. We're getting physical movement, and I'm getting time with him, which is always peaceful to me. But we're getting sunlight, and we're getting vitamin D. And so that just helps to regulate your cortisol, your circadian rhythm. It helps to calm the nervous system, help us to feel safe. So that's just one tool that you might consider that maybe you haven't been doing. You're probably seeing and reading a lot about breath work and deep breathing, and those are really important. And again, I'm not an expert in this, and I don't want you to think I'm saying that I'm an expert, but I have toyed with it, I've experimented with it, I've practiced it a little bit, and again, on a very baby scale, but I have found it helps. And so for me, when I start my day, before I even get out of bed, before I even go get that sunlight, I'm just quiet and I'm praying. I do a little bit of manual lymphatic drainage massage work that I've learned from the practitioner I see once a month. And then I do a little bit of breath work, meaning I just take in some really deep breaths where my abdomen expands, and then blow it out and take a really long time to blow it out. And I might do that 5 times, 6 times, 10 times. There's no rhyme or reason, but I just do that. And again, what happens as I'm inhaling deeply and I'm exhaling and taking longer to exhale is I'm just letting my body know you're safe. You're safe. So that's an example of something you could be doing. And again, you don't need to dig so deep into all the breath work. It's just like taking time to be still and allow your body to recognize we're okay, we're safe, we're ready to start the day. And you can do that throughout the day. There might be times where you feel like, ooh, there's too much noise. Oops, I'm letting too much in. Oops, I'm getting consumed. Oops, I'm feeling a little bit edgy. And you can just take time to do a little bit of that breathing, and it just tells the body, we're calm, we're okay. This is a safe place. Reducing input, that constant input that you're taking in. So what does that look like for me? That means I have been training myself. I'm going to be honest. It's training, it's discipline, it's coaching myself to say, I am not letting my phone and looking at my phone and getting caught up in scrolling be the first thing I do in the morning. I'm not letting it set the tone of my day. So I've been training myself for a while now, you guys, to not look at my phone first thing in the morning for 30 minutes to an hour. The only thing I look at is what is the weather today, so I know how to dress when I take Maverick for a walk, and then it goes down. And I don't look at it and I don't get consumed in it for anywhere from a half hour to an hour. And that has changed so much for me in my day and my attitude and my perspective on the day. So that might be something you want to try. Maybe just lessening the background of TV. Some people like to have TV on just to have noise, but maybe just lessening it or doing it less often might be something that helps bring some peace into your day. That idea of doom scrolling, which is why I don't pick up my phone first thing in the morning, like, how do I train myself not to do that? Maybe I just need to set a timer when I am going to go on my phone for 15 minutes and then I pop off of it again. Maybe that's a way to just create some more peace and less noise. Maybe when you're in the car, I tend to use the car as my library on wheels, so I'm always listening to a book or a podcast or a sermon. But sometimes before I do that, I just let it be quiet. So maybe just having quiet car rides where you can really just be connected to yourself, and for me, to God. And just that quietness allows calmness to come back into life, and even creativity, to be honest, because you start to think about, wow, all the kind of things maybe that there hasn't been a space for in the past. So yeah, if we're consuming too much, we can't experience peace. So let's think about that. And then I told you I like to take a walk every day, at least an hour. Sometimes I take more than one walk. And often I'm putting food into my brain that helps me to grow and become a better version of myself. But often it's nice to just take a quiet walk, no stimulation whatsoever. Have you experimented with that? Have you tried that? That helps a lot. That really helps to practice what we're trying to learn here together as we're locking arms, that deeper yes. What is that deeper yes for me? What is that thing I can say yes to that maybe I haven't been saying yes to because there's been so much noise? If we take a quiet walk versus one we're listening to a sermon podcast or a book, then we can really be listening. And that's what we want to work on as we're working on this together. Listening, really listening. And then another thing, that's important to me, and I kind of shared way in the beginning about I'm involved in a health and wellness company, and this journey of mine has been all around health and wellness. And again, not just physical, but physical is important, right? So really nourishment is important. And probably if you polled most people or even thought about yourself, most of us are undernourished. We're not getting enough of what we need, whether that's enough hydration, electrolytes, mineral support, learning to eat anti-inflammatory foods versus inflammatory foods, or things that might disrupt our hormones, or that maybe really are toxic to us because our bodies go, I don't even know what this is. Is this food? Is this nutrition? I don't even know how to use it. And then it creates other problems in our body. Stabilizing our blood sugar. So those are things to think about. I might, in this episode, I haven't done this at all, but I might put some links in the description of this, of some of the things I personally use that have transformed my body when it comes to nourishment. So I use a green drink, moringa. Google moringa, you'll be in awe of what it does. And I've been drinking that for over 10 years now, and that has transformed my body from the inside out because of what it does for inflammation, immune system, blood sugars, hormone balance, and so much more. So maybe I'll put a link there for you. You can check out. I have an electrolyte with no sugars, nothing added, nothing that the body doesn't recognize as nutrition that I use that actually helps me absorb all the water that I drink, which I didn't know what I didn't know before I got introduced to those electrolytes. So that's super, super important. And all the mineral support comes from my moringa drink and a few other things I use. So I might link that for you if you guys are just curious and you want to take a look. But that's really important to create peace in our bodies if we're nourishing our bodies properly, and most of us aren't because we haven't been taught how to do that. So that's super important to start to dig in deep. Okay, let's move on to the number 2, emotional tools that maybe we'd be able to use to create some peace and quiet the noise. I don't do this. I'm not good at this, but this is definitely a great suggestion, or I'm not consistent with it. That's maybe a better way to describe myself. But journaling to get the mental clutter out of our brains and onto paper and away is really, really important. If that's something you struggle with, that overthinking and constantly ruminating on things, journaling could be a really great tool for you emotionally. Again, I'm not consistent with it, but what I do sometimes is I will gosh, I just need to get rid of some stuff, or I need to work on healing relationships and forgiving, and I'm struggling with that. And I'll just kind of put all the things that have been eating at me and I'm ruminating at, and I write them on a list so they're out of my brain. Sometimes I'll physically even burn that list up, so I have it it doesn't have any power over me anymore. So that might be something that you want to think about. But the things that you could use as prompts for journaling is what has been weighing on me, what's weighing me down, and just address it and write it out. It doesn't have to be eloquent. You're not getting it published. It's really for you to just get it out of your head. Or what am I carrying around that's not even mine? Maybe I'm carrying around other people's problems and burdens, and I'm letting that energy impact me. So how can I get rid of it? So journaling is a great tool to use for that. Boundaries, oh my gosh, I could do a whole episode on boundaries, and we probably will, but it's so powerful. This is like the counselor coming out in me. But boundaries are so powerful and so huge, and we really need to work and learn how to set those for us and make them healthy. That doesn't mean that we're like, oh, we're not going to be available to you, we're not going to be kind, we're not going to be loving, we're not going to be involved in this relationship. It just means like, what am I allowing into my life or not into my life to impact me? And that's what a boundary is about. So saying no without guilt. Again, that's something you have to practice. For most people, you have to practice. That doesn't come easily. Limiting draining conversations. You know what? This conversation is too much, or this person's energy is not healthy for me right now. I love them, but maybe I need to love them from afar, and setting a boundary about that. Or knowing like, okay, I know I'm going to spend time with this person. Like, so setting a parameter of like, how much time do I have that I can give to that and commit to that right now? So that's a boundary. That's a healthy boundary. And just protecting rest. Oh my gosh, we have so many people have such a hard time rest, or we think we're resting, but we're still scrolling our phone. So like, just protecting what true, real rest is. It's quietness. It's stillness. It's listening. It's peace. So yeah, let's quiet that noise, right? Sometimes that things get really noisy because we just make ourselves too accessible to all the things that are not bringing peace into our lives. So boundaries will help with that. This is a good one I had to learn. Honestly, I'm still learning. I'm still breaking free with. But stop over-explaining yourself. Stop over-explaining yourself. Peace often can grow when we stop trying to convince everyone to understand us. Like, I just want you to understand who I am or where I'm from. Like, so work on that. Again, that is not going to come overnight. That is going to be something that you're going to work on, and you're going to hone in on, and you're going to coach yourself to grow in and get better at. So, hey, and before I keep going any further, there's a little bit more in emotions, and then we're going to get to spiritual. One thing I didn't say in the beginning that I want to say to all of you, and I hope you hear this, all these tools that I'm sharing don't mean you need to do all of them. It's not a checkbox, and if you don't do them all, then you're not there, and you haven't achieved, and you didn't create any peace, and you didn't quiet the noise. It means which ones maybe could work for me. Which one should I pick this week to work on? And maybe next week I'll work on another one, and just learn to create healthy habits and stack them. That's what we're talking about. Remember, this is about progress. It's not about perfection. If you're thinking that you have to do all of these, then that's going to create too much noise and overwhelm, right? So that's not the goal. That's not what we're working on. We're just sharing with each other examples that might help bring peace to your life, and which ones make sense for you and where you're at on your journey right now. Okay, so just a little bit of an emotional check-in for yourself that you might want to do periodically. Like, what am I actually feeling right now? Maybe I haven't even had time to just be still long enough to be honest with myself. What am I feeling? Or what do I actually need to do today? And maybe I don't need to do today. Maybe that's something that you need to work on, because maybe our brain has told us we have to do it all, right? But we don't have to do it all. What would be a good thing to do today? That one, I'd feel accomplished and I'm progressing forward and I'm growing, but also that still allows space for peace in my mind, in my heart. Okay, so let's move on to spiritual tools. This was number 3. Yeah. And this is an important one for me. I hope as you keep visiting in here and listening that you're recognizing, okay, this is one of the pillars of Nancy's life, and it is what has brought so much healing to my life. And you might not be there yet. You might still be exploring. You might still be like, I'm curious. I'm trying to figure this out. But I do want to put it out there that this is often an area where many of us need to work or find tools to help us work, to quiet that noise, to stop listening to all the other voices, to listen to one voice, and to allow peace to come back into our lives. So I did want to make sure that we touched on this for a moment. So silence and stillness, that's an important one. That idea of like, I wasn't put here because I have to perform and strive, or maybe, but like not all the time. So not performing, not striving, just sitting quietly to listen to what God, the Lord, has for you might be an area that you need to work on. That might be a tool like, hey, I'm going to practice this. Listen, I was an athlete my whole life, and guess what? To be really good at your sport, you have to practice every single day. If you don't practice, you're not going to hone and improve on your skill set in that sport. Well, it's the same thing in life. Maybe I'm not good at being quiet and still and not performing and striving, but I want to be better at that. So maybe that's an area where you're going to practice. Okay, for me, scripture, praise and worship music, surrounding myself with other, especially women that believe in the Lord like I do, being involved in Bible studies, all of those things are super helpful to me, super powerful for me. And that might be something where you like, I want to hone in on this skill and improve it. It has far more weight and carry an impact on my life than if I were to take in opinions from everybody else. So like, who do I go to first? Do I go to all my friends, or do I go to scripture and God's word and truth? So that has been hugely pivotal in my life and in my growth, and in my peace. And so I hope that for you too. It has really quieted the thoughts in my head that are not based in truth or reality. So I hope that's something that maybe you'll consider doing. And one thing I've done last year, and I'm doing it again this year on repeat, is listening to my Bible every day. And I'm working through the Bible in a year, and there's an app that I use. I'll put that in the notes too. And that has had a traumatic, in the best way possible, dramatic, that's what I meant, dramatic impact on my life. And I often do that when I'm walking my dog, or driving. So I'm just letting that pour into my head, God's word, God's truth. Okay, prayer as surrender and not performance. I'm not praying so I can tell everybody I prayed and I'm such a good prayer. I'm praying because I'm just yielding myself to the one that created me. So Lord, help me hear what really matters today or in life or on this journey I'm in. Show me what needs to go. What do I need to get rid of? What do I need to give back to you? What do I need to stop clinging to so hard, or holding with my fist closed like this instead of like this? Or can you just lead me in peace? Like, I'm struggling to find peace and calmness. Will you lead me in it? Will you breathe that back into me? So, I mean, it can be simple like that. It doesn't have to be a long novella or novel kind of prayer. It just needs to be communication with the one that created you. Discernment, this is when I love being able to not listen to every voice and giving it the power to have access and weight over me. And so learning that, again, that's a discipline and that's a skill that we learn, and we ask God to grow that in us. How can I have the wisdom and discernment to know, like, this voice means well, but it's not really what you want me to listen to or allow it to have access on me. Or this voice does. Like, I really think maybe you're trying to teach me something and I haven't been listening, and I need to pay attention and listen to that. So that's what discernment is. It really allows you to hear the messages that you're supposed to be hearing and meant to hear. Okay, so just a little bit to close us out. I went a little bit longer today, but I just felt like this was important. I don't want to just kind of keep talking about things around the surface level and not actually give you tangible tools that can help you start to break free and to grow and to heal. So if we want to quiet the noise, sometimes we need to know, well, how do I do that, Nancy? So that's what this was about. That's why we went a little bit longer. And I want you to know, and I want to remind you that quieting the noise doesn't mean you're escaping life or running away or pretending it's not happening. It's just learning how to determine where to put your thoughts and your energy. Okay, so it's not about running away and escaping. It's learning to create that space that helps you to recognize what's really true in your life. And then that's where the peace starts to come. And it's usually not really loud and screaming at you. It usually arrives quietly and gently. And then you notice, oh, I feel calmer than I have felt in a long time. I feel like I'm willing to slow down a little bit, and I'm not telling myself that's lazy or unproductive or I'm not a success. I'm starting to feel significance in my life again, or worth or value, because you're taking time to connect with who you are and who you are meant to be and what the plan is for you. So maybe today your deeper yes is simply just giving yourself permission to slow down long enough to hear it, to hear the voice that's telling you it's okay, it's time. And I want you to think about, let's see here, I had a little question I wanted you to dwell on and think about over the week. It's not homework. I just want you to have it be something that you reflect about as you're going through your day. What voice have you been listening to the most lately? And is it leading you toward the peace that you're craving? I want you to think about that. If you want to journal about it, journal about it. If you want to leave it in the notes or the captions here, I would love to hear back from you. And then I just want to close us out by saying thank you again for spending time with me. Thank you again for sharing this if it touched you with the people that you love and you care about. And I want you to remind you that you don't have to force your way forward in this. This is a journey that we're on, and it's that progress over perfection. And sometimes healing begins with one honest, deeper yes. So I thank you again for taking time out of your day to be here, and I'll see you again next week on the Deeper Yes.